What's up, guys? It's McNulty here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. And today marks the release of the newest Gargoyles. These furry, funny mofos have been entering into the game today, and we're going to have a look at them. So as you can see, the Gargoyles castle has been overgrown. It's got moss everywhere, and we've got these weird, cutesy looking gargoyles in the portal. I mean, what's up with those eyes? They're just looking absolutely everywhere. Oh, it's not on that one. I love that. I honestly love that. So they are pretty cutesy looking. We know how devastating Pop Hit and Garten are. Unfortunate about Garten's buff. But we have a few new ones, including a 4-star and a 3-star gargoyle. So let's get started. We're going to have a look at these heroes today, see what they're all about, and see how impactful they are going to be, and whether they're going to be a good addition into the meta. So let's start off with this guy, seeing as he's the first one coming up. So this one is called Mena or Mena. He's a nature hero, nature gargoyle of the Ranger class. So Ranger class, as we know, gives him a chance to bypass defensive buffs, including counterattacks, if buffs were bypassed. So it's showing you the Master Pierce talent. I'm not sure why they've done that. I'd prefer they just leave it regular, but I guess they're wanting us all to go for the Master talents now. So the target gets negative 20% defense for 3 turns, but for the most part, it's a chance to bypass defensive buffs. Now moving on to the Gargoyle family bonus. So just for a recap, the bonus stands for 1, 2, or 3 heroes. For a single hero, they're immune to poison damage. For 2 heroes, they're immune to poison and burn damage. For 3 heroes, they're immune to poison, burn, and water damage. So again, these heroes can be a pretty good counter for heroes like ZZ Jing, the Scorpion Lady, who gives that devastating amount of poison damage. There are a lot of dot damage dealers that do rely on poison damage quite heavily, so these are a good counter for any heroes you go up against that are doing poison damage. Now, the passive for the Gargoyles is the soft skin for these new fluffy furry ones. Every time the Gargoyle casts a special skill, the soft skin activates, and the next 3 times for this hero that he receives damage, they reduce the damage by 90%. And they resist all status elements and mana reduction. So on top of the resistance they already get, the innate resistance against poison, the soft skin gives them extra resistance against all status elements for the next 3 times they receive damage. And the effect can't be dispelled. Of course, we are familiar with that because of the stone skin, so that shouldn't be anything super new to anybody. But I do really like the update to the Gargoyle passive. I think it was definitely needed because the old soft skin was pretty terrible. Now, moving on. In terms of stats, if we switch off the max power preview, we can see Mena is running a team power of 1049, so super strong. Attack stat 1102, defense of 1050, and HP of 1751. So definitely able to hang with the big boys despite his non-menacing appearance. I'm not sure how I feel about the art on these guys. I think it is pretty cool and quite cutesy and a bit quirky. And you know what? We've had so many different weird and wonderful heroes introduced into this game that I'm not mad at this. I think it's cool. I think it's quite fun. I want to know more about how the initial Gargoyles got thrown over. I want a bit more backstory, if you like. But anyway, that's just me. Now, the special skill for Mena is running at fast speed, and it's called Fluff in the Air. So, at fast speed, Mena will deal 390% damage to the target and minor damage to nearby enemies. Then at the end of each turn, the caster and nearby allies shoot a fluff volley at a random enemy for 3 turns. This fluff volley deals 150% damage, and each fluff volley reduces the mana of the hit enemy by 5%. So a very, very strong effect, similar to somebody like Luna, for example. The caster's allies, the nearby allies, will shoot. It says the caster and the nearby allies, so all 3 of them are going to be shooting this fluff volley. The 150% damage is really neither here nor there. It's all about that 5% mana reduction that happens, because you can think of it like a Lady of the Lake or like a water pipe, for example. where you are reducing that mana by just enough to prevent them from casting their special skills. So I can see this being a really, really good hero. So I like the damage, 390% to the target and minor to nearby. So it's going to be half of that to the nearby. So what's half of that? Like 195 damage to the nearby. It's not going to be the hugest hit to the nearby enemies, but bear in mind that follow-up for the next 3 turns of 150% damage from both Mena and the nearby allies is really going to be useful. I think that I would probably put this guy in as a flank or a tank, potentially, but I don't really see a lot of nature tanks. The resistance against ailments definitely is going to be helpful if you have another gargoyle to pair him up with. But that being said, yeah, this is a pretty damn good hero, guys. I think definitely for me, I would say in the close to the S tier. I just think that the passive, they are probably leaning quite heavily on the passive at the moment. But dot damage is definitely a thing in the meta at the moment. So it's definitely going to give you a bit of a leg up there. And yeah, congrats if you do manage to pull Mena. I think fantastic hero. Now let's move on to our other featured 5-star gargoyle, which is this ugly mug called Uwe with like 4 eyes. He looks like the beast, man. Like we know, like he's reminiscent of geez, I can't even get to the purple gargoyle that just wipes the whole entire team. I can't even remember his name right now. Gosek. That is it. So he's kind of like, I think he's going to be the furry version of Gosek. Now he is of the wizard class, okay, so he gets the chance to jinx, so dealing additional 25% extra damage per each active buff. As I've said, I think that's a pretty decent talent there. And then the gargoyle family bonus is exactly the same for him, so we won't go over that again. The soft skin passive for this gargoyle, because he is running at slow speed, as we can see there, it lasts for 5 turns. So every time he casts a special skill, the soft skin activates for the next 5 times that they receive damage. It's reduced by 90% and they resist all status ailments and mana reductions. So that is something to bear in mind. A 5-turn, basically 90% damage reduction is pretty huge, and the resistance to all ailments is pretty huge as well. So I think that's really, really useful for this guy straight away. Now, if we switch off the max power preview, we can see he's running a team power of 1,049 as well. I was going to say a bit more defensively built, but only very slightly. 1,077 on his attack, 1,060 on the defense, and 1,792 on the health. So again, extremely good stats. His special skill is called Chain Blast Strike. Now, he's running at slow speed. And at slow speed, he deals 850% damage to the target. Now, that's not a typo, guys. That is real damage. 850% damage to the target. And that is definitely going to happen every time you cast his special skill. I think that is probably the hardest hitting single target snipe of any hero in the game, hands down. If the target has less than 50% health before receiving damage, targets another enemy who had less than 50% health before receiving any damage from this special skill. If none of the other enemies had 50% health, targets a random enemy. The damage is reduced on each consecutive hit. Each enemy can only be hit once. Now, if hit enemies use their special skill in the next 3 turns, they get 725 poison damage for 5 turns. This effect is uncleansable. It says here, status effects are added at the end of a special skill. Status effects will not be added if this status effect is removed during a special skill. I'm not sure what special skill will remove this effect other than the dance effects, because it is uncleansable, but that really isn't the main part about this. The main part about this is some huge damage. 850% damage to the target is a lot of damage. Now, the chain is very, very conditional though. So if the target has less than 50% health before receiving damage, it says it targets another enemy who had less than 50% health before receiving damage. So this guy is going to be a finisher. That's the way I see Uwe. He is somebody who's going to be the final nail in the coffin. And I do see that we need that quite a lot nowadays, especially where you've got heroes like the Toons, for an example, who seem to just, especially heroes like Toon Vivica, you get her down to like 30% health or 40% health, and then you don't have somebody who's capable of just putting the final nail in her coffin. And this is where Uwe is going to come in. So he's kind of a niche character in that respect. And yeah, it's going to be, but he's going to be dealing some pretty hefty damage. Now, I just want to say, I am still on a no spend. I swear to you guys this. But luckily I did actually have some gems, because some of the alliance members in my alliance are just dirty krakens, to steal a phrase from another game. And if I go over here to recent activity, I should be able to show you this. So literally I had 800 gems from them buying all of these other offers, and I spent them. And I just gained, on my first pull, as you can see here, this is literally the first pull that I had, with 300 gems. I got this guy. So yeah, I have him now. And actually, I have tested him out. He's literally not leveled at all. I've just got him at 1-1. And at 1-1, he basically hits about the same damage as my fully leveled costume Finley to a single target. But there is a bit of a bug, as far as I can tell, with his chain effects, because it just doesn't chain. Like, it doesn't chain, first of all, if he kills the enemy. So I haven't been able to test this fully yet, but if he kills the enemy, it doesn't chain, and that doesn't really specify that according to this special. And then the next part where it says if none of the other enemies have 50% health, I think that really should be if none of the other enemies have less than 50% health. It should say that, but it seems like it doesn't really work. So I think they might need to have a look at that with this hero. There does seem to be a little bit of a bug, but as far as I can tell, like I said before, he is going to be a pretty good finisher. So I will level him. I will do some more testing, and of course I'll come back to you guys once I know. But yeah, I think he can be pretty useful. I probably would reserve him more for the rush format, but then I think if I put him alongside somebody like Ludwig, he's just going to be, even if he is just a single target snipe for 800 and 850% damage, that's going to be brutal. So yeah, congrats if you guys do manage to get your hands on this guy as well. Like I say, I was lucky enough to get him with a single pull. So miracles do happen, and there's your evidence. But yeah, I'm still not spending. So if hit enemies use the special skill, the last bit, they get 725 poison damage. So what you don't want to do is be using your special after this guy hits you. If you do add second limit breaks and emblems, you can see it goes up to 1080 poison damage for 5 turns. It sounds like a real huge amount of poison damage, but it is only about 250, 260 per turn. So it's not the end of the world. What is the end of the world is if you have left less than 50% and this guy goes off, he should be destroying the entire team. But if it doesn't work, and it's a case where if you kill the enemy, he does not chain to the following target, then that is potentially a pretty big problem for Uwe. So yeah, that's where we are with him at the moment. And now we're going to move on to our new 4-star and 3-star hero in the portal. So our 4-star is this buggy-eyed dude called Grumbl. He looks pretty dope. So Grumbl is an ice hero. He is of the ranger class, so he gets that chance to bypass. Same gargoyle family bonus for Grumbl as well. And the passive, you can see the soft skin activates and it receives for 5 turns. So that tells us that he is going to be a slow speed hero, as we can see. Now in terms of stats, pretty decent, honestly, for a 4-star hero to have nearly 1,000 team power without any limit breaks and with max emblems, is pretty damn good. But then they are including the max at 25 on the class level. And again, like I said before, I'm not so sure I'm a huge fan of that. because it does kind of skew the figures a little bit. Sorry, guys, I just want you to be able to see him as we're doing this. So yeah, I mean, stats-wise, he could be whatever. We really don't know. I mean, it's a new world. We've got the master emblems now, so, you know, these stats are going to be changing a little bit. We'll try and get our heads around it as we go. But it looks pretty decent to me anyway. Now, let's move over to what he's actually doing. So his special's called Moon Boomerang. He's running at slow speed. Now, all allies except the caster receive soft skin. You know, from if you've watched my video with Garton, I'm not a huge fan of this effect because it seems like it means that he doesn't receive his own soft skin effect. I mean, I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I'm hoping that he still gets the soft skin effect and all other allies receive the soft skin that lasts just for a single turn. But if he doesn't get the soft skin, which it says here, all allies except the caster receive soft skin, then this special is kind of doing him a massive injustice. And then all allies recover 510 HP over 3 turns. This does not increase or decrease with limit breaks and emblems. It's a flat amount of 510 HP. The effect duration is then reset if the status effect owner is hit with any direct damage from a special skill. So it's kind of like a Professor Leidenbrock type of effect, except that it's not boosted health. It's not quite as big of a heal. So it's nothing like a Professor Leidenbrock effect. It's just not as good. But yeah, I mean, 510 HP over 3 turns is not a huge amount either, unfortunately. But the saving grace, he does cleanse status ailments from all allies. And the fact that he gives them the soft skin means that the next hit they take, they're going to be immune to new status ailments. So yeah, he's going to take a little bit of work from you as a 4-star hero, but I think that he can serve you pretty well. I wouldn't rely on him or lean on him as my primary healer because number one, he's running at slow speed, and number two, his heal's really not going to get you out of a sticky situation. So it's kind of unfortunate for this guy. I preferred if they just did like a straightforward all allies receive 500 boosted health over 3 turns. I mean, 500 boosted health straight up, That's not going to break this hero at all, but it is going to make him a lot more usable than he is in his current format. As it is, I'm not the hugest fan of Grumbl. I don't think that you'll get a massive amount of use out of him. You can make him work if you need to in a pinch. But yeah, you kind of want heroes that are good to go from when you pull them. So this is not the guy for you if that's the case. And now let's have a look at our 3-star. Our 3-star hero is Betty, the Ninja Gargoyle. She couldn't make up her mind. She's aspiring to be a ninja, but she's stuck in her gargoyle skin. Again, she is of the gargoyle family, so we won't go over that again. She is a rogue class hero, which is good. And she gets the soft skin passive, so she's running at average speed, so she gets 4 turns of soft skin. So that we've gone over already. We don't need to go over again. Now, she does benefit from the attack up ether talent, which is worth mentioning because she is a damage dealer. So at the start of battle, she gets a 20% attack increase for the first 6 turns. So I am a fan of that. I do like it. Sorry, again, I'm going to go back to her. Come on, Betty, just stick around maybe 2 more minutes, and that's all we need from you, okay? Stay there. Anyway, her special skill is called Pointy Darts, and she is running at average speed. So at average speed, she's going to deal 210% damage for the target and nearby enemies, and the nearby allies will receive the soft skin. So it says again, the next time they receive damage, it's reduced by 90%, and they resist all status ailments and mana reductions. The effect can't be dispelled, but yeah, it can be removed with a single tile hit or a single slash attack. Now, what do I think about this hero? She's a pretty straightforward hit 3 damage dealer, not a huge amount of damage, nothing higher than what we've seen at the 3-star level before. The soft skin effect is really cool. And at the 3-star level, I think it is going to be pretty frustrating because she's protecting herself very well. But then not a huge amount of 3-star heroes rely on ailment-based damage. But the reduction of 90% damage can come into effect unless you just throw like 3 or 4 tiles at her and then remove that effect. So she's not... Oh my goodness, why have you gone? Why have you gone? We're talking about you. Anyway, sorry guys. Right, so Betty, not Pop Hit, Betty is a pretty sort of average hero, but the soft skin effect is really cool at the 3-star level, but it can be dealt with, so you just need to wait it out a little bit. The soft skin that she's giving to her nearby allies really doesn't make that much of a difference because it only lasts for a single turn. So I'm not the hugest fan of Betty. I think that they probably could have done a bit more with this hero. Now, the soft skin update had to happen. Otherwise, pretty much all of these heroes that we've now looked at would have been not even close to as good as they are. And when you're relying so heavily on a single part of your skill for you to be relevant, I think that can be dangerous because it means that these heroes are not kind of able to compete with the specials at the sort of levels that we're seeing. Certainly with this guy, I think that there is a problem with his special, and I think that that probably needs to be looked into. Please do let me know if you guys do pull Uwe and if you're playing around with him and you see something a bit different than I'm seeing at the moment, but it feels like he might be a little bit broken in a bad way. And then this guy, Mena, I think is absolutely perfect. Honestly, I think this is going to be a really, really good effect. I think the fluff volley is awesome. Any kind of mana reduction is going to make him a great control hero, both for attack and for defensive teams. So out of all of the gargoyles, I would give this guy an S tier all day long. He's fantastic. This guy, absolutely no idea. I don't know that he's working as intended. The 4-star is a bit of a letdown, and the 3-star, again, a bit of a letdown. So we need a bit of a rework on the 4s and the 3s. But that being said, please do let me know how you feel about these heroes in the comments. Please do drop us a like as well. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share it with your mother. And I will see you all again in the next video. I know you don't like me saying that, but I'm saying it again. Share it with your mother, guys. Take care. Bye for now.